online, through the agent portal, whereby you collect the documents from your client and then complete the online application. You upload the required checklist of documents and then submit the application. It's very important to state that it's a one-day incorporation process. That's the best scenario where you've got all the documentation right and in place, and you don't have, let's say, a high-risk activity or high-risk country or enhanced due diligence required. So, and this feature is, I would say, we don't have it in the UAE, because if you've ever tried to set up a company in the UAE, the best scenario, I would say, time frame for incorporation is 1 week, and that's because all free zones or the onshore authorities require external approvals to proceed with the application. Whereas with RAK ICC, we have our own entire compliance systems, and we don't require any external approvals, so that we are controlling the time frame for incorporation.
Can I just ask, when you register a company, is there a requirement to have an Emirati partner with this as well?
No, it's 100% foreign owned. Right. But there are some structures that I will talk about them later where you require.
Love, one small question. When you talk about documents, so as an Indian, if I want to incorporate a company with the RAK ICC,
yes.
Do I need to get them notarized from the UAE embassy in Delhi?
No. I did mention there's no legalization or attestation of documents.
Nothing is required.
No, we only require the registered agent to certify them.
And once this is registered, does that mean that the company operates in this region, but it can also operate in the rest of the UAE?
So,
in terms of business?
The international business companies are companies registered in UAE to perform activities outside UAE. Right. Now, there are holding companies, for example, that you can use RAK ICC companies to hold, for example, real estate in UAE, or if you want to hold shares in another company, subsidiary, or being a branch, to have a branch of the RAK ICC company in UAE, it's also possible. But activities, performing activities and operations should be outside.
By definition, it's offshore. You have to think it's offshore.
Right.
Now, if you want to do something within the UAE, you then think of the free zone or the onshore license. And if you want to be 100% foreign owned and do operations in the UAE, then you have to think free zone. And we've created a premium product that gives you the offshore and free zone that ticks all those boxes, basically.
So these are the different types of companies. I'll come across one by one, but mainly it's, you can see these companies are used as holding vehicles, special purpose vehicles, joint venture companies, trading, family office structures, etc. I'll come across this in detail. Right. Special purpose vehicles, these, you might be familiar with the term. There are different usages for these SPCs. When you want to, let's say, one example is structured finance transactions. For example, let's say you've got an investor and they want to acquire an asset, and they not necessarily want to fund the transaction purely from equity. They want to obtain a loan or a banking facility. So what they do is that the investor will set up this special purpose vehicle, whereby the SPC will hold the assets, and as a security for the lender that they're going to pay back their loan, they have a share pledge of the SPC for the benefit of the lender. So this kind of transaction, whereby you've got all the loan agreements, the share pledge agreements registered with RAK ICC, and we issue the share charge certificate, is a security for the lender to complete the financing of the transaction.
This is extremely popular. It's very straightforward. It can be done, frankly, in any jurisdiction around the world. But this doesn't have to be property. This can be any asset. Think of it that way. I've been involved in many private equity transactions in my career, Very, very often you create SPVs for each of the portfolio companies, and sometimes many SPVs for each of the portfolio companies. Some of it for voting, some of it non-voting, some of it the LP, some of it the GP, some of it is getting a carried interest, some of it is not, etc., etc., etc. So there is a huge need for special purpose vehicles. They're no more than just a legal structure. And very often you don't even need a bank account for that SPV. It is just a legal structure to ring fence ownership of a certain asset. The owner up there can be one or many people coming into this SPV to own that asset, etc., etc. So the way we sell it is to say, okay, we all need lawyers. A structure like this. You can go to ADGM, for example, Abu Dhabi Global Market, which is a financial center, or the IFC, and pay 10 times as much, but you're going to get the same thing. And you can pledge security, and we have a register, same as any of those entities. You're in a strong jurisdiction, that's the UAE. Of course, you can do it in the BVI or somewhere else. But that's one use, that's one very popular use of these offshore vehicles. You don't need to be onshore and have an office and hire people and so on for a legal SPV like that at all. It's literally, our fee is 2,500 dirhams, which is $700. Adam Global are very reasonable, so they probably charge you $2,000 to have something like this in place. Am I right? Am I close? And they give you the registered address and the director and the this and the that.
I have one use case to discuss, and possibly it might be a use case for many others also. There's this client of mine who represents various foreign telecom companies in telecom solutions, sells their products as a reseller in India, and he earns from them in dollars. But as per the Indian tax structure, he has to bill them GST also, because it's a product or a service finally sold in India, right? I have recommended to him that he should set up a company in UAE, and he should set up an offshore company in UAE, as per my understanding. So this is a case which you have to validate. And he does his business in India, bills the clients dollars, and keeps the dollars in UAE. Is it legal? Is it allowed?
Possible, as long as they're not doing any activities in the UAE.
They should not do it in UAE. That's
They
fine.
can use the RAK
That's
ICC
fine.
company.
From what you described, that sounds doable.
It's a doable case.
The devil's always in the details, but from what you've described, absolutely doable.
Thank you, thank you.
Do you get bank account included in the package?
Sorry?
Do you get bank account in UAE?
That's
We are
their
the
package.
registry. So these gents will tell you absolutely you do. They will help you open a bank account. Yes.
Is that a challenge to get a bank account in this?
Everywhere in the world, whether you're Tom, Dick, or Harry, it's a challenge to open a bank account. Absolutely. Anybody disagree with that? These days, it is a challenge to open a bank account. Even a big corporate has a challenge opening bank accounts these days. But it's doable, absolutely doable. And it can be 1 week, it can be 6 months, depending on the client, the agent, the documentation, your ability to show proof of wealth, proof of this and that. But we talked about this yesterday a little bit. Banks is a huge challenge for everybody today.